welcome back to Fintech Live London. With me today is Joe Armstrong, who is the Senior Product Manager for Pleo. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
Joe. So, Joe, can you just give us a little overview in terms of sort of what Pleo is and what it's doing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So Pleo is Europe's #1 business spend platform. What that means is basically, if you are a business that is distributed, it means that you have distributed spend. So you have people all around the world that need to buy things for work, and they need a way to do that, right? So what Pleo does is provides a card or the ability to pay invoices, and you can do that all through the Pleo platform, and you don't have to worry about managing, like remembering your receipts, how that information flows into the accounting system for the finance team. It kind of takes all that pain away from that process of managing expenses.
So, in terms of sort of discussing open banking in general, I really wanted to ask you how important trust was as an element of that, and how you managed to build that within the customer sphere.
Yeah, so trust is hugely important. I think there was an example I gave previously where we've just started to roll out open banking in the Netherlands. And one of our customers, the first one we actually showed the experience to, we took them all the way through the flow. It was like, okay, I want to add money to Pleo from my Dutch bank, right? They get into Pleo, they go through all the steps, everything's working fine. And then we take them to the screen of their bank to log in, and they see that everything's written in English, and instantly their trust is eroded. And they decided not to go ahead with the process, right? So what we've done is we're working with Yapoli to correct that and make sure that that's changed to Dutch, and so that it feels trustworthy and it feels like an experience that customer is familiar with. But that's hugely important. As Pleo has gone to 10 markets in 10 months, every time we go to a new place, we need to make sure that what we're building and how we're using open banking is absolutely in the most comfortable way for the customer.
So Pleo has expanded very rapidly. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How it's managed to scale? What have been the elements that have driven that?
Yeah, it's been really mind blowing, to be honest. So I think I joined in February, and I was the 500th employee, and Pleo's hired I think 40% more on top of the company since then, so 400 extra people or so, which is mad. And then not only that, the part of Pleo I joined was expansion. So we were in 6 markets, and then we went to a new market every month, and we've gone to 10 more since that point, right? So what that feels like from the inside is like a lot of change, a lot of process change, a lot of moving around. It's like every few months something new is happening. So you have to really get comfortable with that uncertainty level of working with in a hyper company, right?
And that's actually quite unusual at the moment, as we're seeing a lot of fintechs kind of scaling down a bit and holding back on their hiring. What strategy has Pleo used to kind of circumnavigate that, really, and the challenges?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So Pleo is a spend solution. So in all things, Pleo is on top of controlling business spend and making sure that we understand how people are spending, and also how like the expenses that are going out to suppliers, right? So Pleo is already using the best tool of the job to actually control spend and make sure that we're on the right track. Then secondly, we've actually slowed down on our expansion a bit, and we're focusing more on localizing. So I look after expansion and localization. And what that means is when we're in a market, we want to make sure Pleo fits as close as possible to the experience for that customer in that place. And what we think about there is like how we work with the accounting systems, how we work with the best payment systems. We talked about open banking today, right? But then also other things on language and how we comply with different rules. For example, how there are per diem laws in different markets that we need to comply with. So we're spending a lot of our time more recently with this change, thinking about how we fit better in all of the markets in Europe that we're in.
And sort of looking forward to the next sort of 12, 24 months, what are we going to see from Pleo going forward?
What Pleo's doing really, really well right now is aggressively targeting these larger mid-market businesses and building stuff that make finance teams and CFOs like really happy to use Pleo. I think for a long time, Pleo has been well known in the industry as having the best customer experience. And that is something we hear all the time in customer feedback to this day. And we've been really making the employee experience way at the top of the list. And the admin and finance team experience was maybe second to the employee experience. But now going into these mid-market companies, we're really seeing that we are doubling down on the finance experience, the CFO experience, and the admin experience is critical. So Pleo is delivering all sorts of interesting stuff. I'm not sure which I can and cannot talk about, but we're thinking about ways we can help merchants handle their cash flow better. We're thinking about ways. So I think we launched credit recently in a few markets. That's one example. Then we're also looking at just more controls in general. So if you're a finance team and you want to have multiple approval layers at different levels, we're building that type of experience as well. And then in my space, we're really thinking about these localization examples. So one that's top of mind for me is there's a wellness budget that customers have in Sweden, where we're investing in that right now to make it as flexible as possible for any employee that's working for a Swedish company to get their wellness budget that's government approved, basically. So we're doing all sorts of stuff across the board, and it should be a very exciting 12 months.
Yeah, lots and lots of things going on, it sounds like. So in terms of your experience here today at Fintech Live, what have been your biggest takeaways so far, and how have you found the event?
It's been great. It was my first time speaking on a stage to an audience like this, so it was a little bit nerve-wracking. But I think it was quite fun, and Ian did a great job of controlling the panel and asking the right questions. I also felt that there's quite a bit more of familiarity with open banking than I thought. So Ian asked at the start, like, how many people have used open banking or are thinking about introducing it to their platform, and I'm sure it was about 40% of the hands in the room went up from that question. So I felt I was speaking to a captive audience, to a sense, like people knew what open banking was. We could talk about it, go into a decent level of depth. And I think to have that forum is really awesome.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today and sitting down and having a chat. It's been great to have you. That's all from me for now. And thank you to Joe Armstrong of Pleo. We'll be back shortly with more interviews.
I think